As the price of Genie Plus and Lightning Lane skyrockets, there's a certain number of people that go to guest services to find out if they qualify for disability access. Well, Disney is cutting them off today. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter for That Park Place, and here with me is Mr. VashSky. Vash, we're going to talk about DAS today. Do you know anything about DAS?
I know a thing or two about DAS, I will say. So I don't want to say I'm uniquely qualified, but I feel qualified, at least to talk to this topic, and to provide our viewers a little bit of context.
Yep, that's true. That's very true. And das is good. Disney launches new disability access service policy at Walt Disney World. This out of WDW Magic and their Magic staff. Walt Disney World's new disability access service is now in effect and is only available to guests with a developmental disability such as autism or a similar disorder. In-person registration for DAS at the parks has... Wait, what did I just read there? So are they saying that there's no longer special access for people in a wheelchair?
Well, that's kind of what they're saying right there. For a while, at least since the 80s, if I recall, but maybe late 90s, they've built queues in order to accommodate for wheelchairs, for electric scooters, and so forth. And so, yeah, DAS, for a while now hasn't actually allowed you any additional access if you do have those impairments.
Interesting. So it sounds like they may be ADA compliant, and so DAS is only for a certain set of people. Interesting. Correct. In-person registration for DAS at the parks has been eliminated, and all applications for the service must be done via live video chat available from 7 to 8 Eastern Time. That's 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The new policy is aimed at addressing the misuse of a widely used benefit, which skips conventional queue environments at the parks and tries to ensure that DAS is used fairly and only by those who truly need it, improving the park experience for all guests. I don't think Disney has officially stated that the Genie Plus and DAS situation was being abused, but I hinted at it in the headline of this video. Basically, when the figures for Lightning Lane went up, when Genie Plus figures went up, there would be a commensurate spike in people going to customer service to apply for the disability access service. It also put, Vash, maybe you can speak to this, it also put customer service in an odd situation.
Oh, yes, because you have those guest relations cast members. Obviously, they're fielded a bunch of questions, a bunch of, medical here's and there's. And obviously, it's like, okay, well, how do we deal with this on a case-by-case basis, especially as we increase prices for Genie Plus, as it places more and more emphasis on DAS and people attempting to secure it for themselves. It's like there was an imbalance growing, and that they had to obviously change that. And it does make sense. That the issue though is that, do you end up denying people that really do need some of these services in carrying out this, let's say, reimagining of this process right here?
Reimagining. So that's that's the word that Disney likes to use. Now, I will say there might be a situation where someone is borderline about whether or not they want to use disability access service, and if the Lightning Lane, by the way, the Lightning Lane situation at Disney parks right now needs to change, and this is meant to fix some of that. I don't know that it will fix that, but right now the Genie Plus Lightning Lane lines are kind of ridiculously long, to the point where
yes.
And the buy-in rate for it is high enough that the price is low enough that you feel silly for not buying it, but enough people buy it that you feel silly for buying it. So we'll have very long Lightning Lane lines and maybe not so long standby lines, otherwise known as the normal line. It's a strange situation that it creates, you wonder if Genie Plus is creating the line situation more than resolving it. But we do know, of course, that Disney is making a metric ton of money from it.
Well, and here's the thing too. Does this open up a path for Disney going forward where they can charge even more for this service, this Genie Plus service going forward? Because what really precipitated this change here, this generational change, is that Lightning Lane usage was up, but Lightning Lane sales were down. They weren't commensurate with each other. So obviously these things need to be addressed, and this is how they're doing it right here. I just worry about a future in which it's like, oh, okay, well, we've kicked so many people off of these systems that utilize Lightning Lane. Maybe it's a better product because of it, or because we have some safeguards in place. Now we can charge more for it and not have to worry about people getting around our price increases.
Right.
That's my worry.
Right. And it's icky, for lack of a better term here, to think that Disney is worried about people not paying for their line skipping add-on. Where FastPass, the original FastPass, seemed to work just fine. I understand there were some issues there, but they were paper passes and they were unavailable at certain times. They could be given out before you went into FastPass Plus and the Genie Plus system. This is, if you had any issues, they could be resolved very easily by, say, somebody at customer service, and customer retention was something that could be, or what's the customer salvage? I forget what the actual term is when they try to make sure that a guest is not upset. These are things that could be fixed by a customer service representative as opposed to a phone call to IT. And now it's too complicated and it's difficult to fix. And there's a monetary reason for Disney not to fix it. So it makes it complicated. Let's move on in talking about DAS here. DAS is intended for guests with difficulty tolerating extended waits in conventional queue environment due to a disability. DAS offers return times for attractions similar to standby waits, allowing guests and their party to enjoy other park experiences instead of waiting in line. Disney has dramatically narrowed the scope of eligibility and now says that DAS is for guests with developmental disability like autism or similar. The new DAS also extends the enrollment period from 60 days to 120 days and reduces the DAS party size to 4 guests. Disney is facing increasing abuse, according to sources. Yep, there's agree with us. And then there's how to apply. I don't know if this is stated in this article. I'm hearing that it's only for kids.
Yeah, I think that's kind of an unofficial policy, but yeah, essentially they're looking at kids mainly when it comes to this kind of thing, because I think they consider an adult suffering from some of these issues as being self-sustaining on their own. It's this is a kind of a complicated thing for sure. It's difficult to talk about because it's, you're obviously dealing with people with so many different needs. I think that the tack that Disney's taken with this, I mean, look, I'm going to come up with a question, Jonas. I'm going to throw it to you, and I'm going to throw it to the audience. How about that? Is this an attempt by the Walt Disney Company to take what was a service that they would give out maybe a little bit more readily and taking those people and saying, well, you can still get Genie Plus? Is this an attempt to do that, to push more sales? Or is this really like them cracking down on a service that was suffering from abuse?
I think it was being abused for sure. No question in my mind that it was being abused. But in this case, I think that they were looking at those Lightning Lane numbers, and if they were in a different situation, if they weren't creating such a problem with Genie Plus and Lightning Lane, I don't think you would have so many people inclined to abuse the system. And now they've put themselves in a situation where they are losing money by allowing people to abuse this system. I think if you're also making DAS something to where only a certain subset here, people with developmental disabilities, and it's fabulous to watch people online, grown-ups who go to these theme parks every single day with annual passes or continuous tickets or whatever like that, complaining about how they need DAS in order to make it through the day, their day being going to Walt Disney Parks and Resorts over and over again every day of their lives. I see something where Disney has a profit incentive to curb the abuse. So I think they're blessed with an excuse to fix this problem. I also think that Disney needs to do something, but what they've done here has essentially opened up their wallet and said, please let the money pour in. Vash, you know this system better than I do. Do you think that this will fix the problems that they're faced with right now?
I think so, but as these systems carry on in the ensuing years, there might be people who find workarounds. There might be cast members who are trained in the ensuing years who are not as strict or rigid as before, and they'll need to probably reimagine this system again, as they have several times in the past. And here's the thing, I mean, the rates of disabilities in the United States and in other countries, it's just kind of exploded. And this is not the last of the story for sure. But the tack that Disney's taking with this, I'm a little bit uncomfortable for various reasons, especially when, a monetary incentive is involved, but also, are you necessarily denying services from people who need it with being so rigid in what they're doing? That's the big question here.
Right. The other thing that we haven't really brought up here is if you get one of these DAS return times, you just go wait somewhere else in the park. So if you can't wait in the line, you will be waiting somewhere else. So if you are going to be outside, if it's so that you can be outside doing some other attraction, or if it's so that you can be out in the heat doing something else instead of being in the heat in the line, it really defeats the purpose. It does get people spending more money because they're not in a line, but that is neither here nor there. We want to throw this to our commenters. What do you think about this situation? Are you a person that is sad to see the system change? This is obviously a controversial topic. I hope we haven't said anything that's offensive other than to grown people who are abusing the system. And there's a lot of those when we talk about this topic. So go easy on them in the comment section down below. They've just lost an entitlement that they felt was theirs forever. So that being said, like this video if you like this video, and consider subscribing to That Park Plays for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.